Hey everybody, welcome to Right Reason at the intersection of ethics and pop culture. Thanks for watching. This is episode number 14. Fun fact about number 14, Aristotle, who is one of the founding fathers of philosophy as a whole, wrote a book which is incredibly important. If you're into, logic and reality and objective truth, Aristotle's your man, and he wrote a book called Metaphysics, which has 14 books. 2,300 years ago. Check it out if you're super nerdy like I am. Thanks for coming, Miranda. What brings you here? And we're very happy to have you here. Tell us about yourself and about your projects, what you're involved in. What are you all about?
All right, so I'm dbmars. I'm a photographer, videographer, and film director. I started about, let's say 7-8 years ago. Funny thing is, I started off with just like on Google Shopping as like a young kid, and I found like a camera for like $100, and it was like, what? They can be that cheap?
How old were you?
I was definitely in like 6th grade or 7th grade, something like that. And so I found the camera, and little did I know it was like a little point and shoot, so it's not any better than like an iPhone nowadays, but that was like a huge accomplishment for me to get when I was young. And then I was, during that time, looking into high schools. And so I was applying to schools where I can actually learn more about photo and video. So I went to Science Leadership Academy.
So wait, so this is such a 2019 story. You're not even in high school yet, and you're like starting to learn video production. You're choosing high schools on the basis of video. That's like amazing. So go on.
So I go to Science Leadership Academy, and I find my teacher, Douglas Herman, who like just took me under his wing. He took like everybody under his wing, but like he always like made sure to make it personal. And,
is he online? Does he have a Twitter account?
Right. I don't know. I don't have Twitter, so I can't find out. But he's in Greece right now, like helping refugees learn how to like use video and camera to tell stories of their own, because those stories are really important. And so he's giving them platforms on like how they can show their story. Really incredible guy, but like he finds a way to like, what are your goals? Let's go do them. Like my big goal in high school was like to go to LA. And so he gave me like 2 or 3 opportunities to go to LA, fully paid. Then we went to Croatia together like last summer, which was like incredible. We got to teach like Croatians and Americans how to film. So that was like 2 weeks of like intensity, which was like so fun. And then I go to, I'm applying for colleges, so I'm looking at Temple, I'm looking at a bunch of schools in LA. I was really close to actually going to LA, but then it was just the money. It was going to cost me $40,000, and that's a lot. So I was like, whoa. So I went to Temple. I'm from Philly, so the adjustment to Temple is like ridiculous. Like I couldn't understand how like so many people were trying to fake being from Philly when you're from like Westchester or something. So like that was like a heavy adjustment, but once I got that flowing, like I actually really grew personally, because I learned how to like communicate with a lot of people, and so that was fun. So now I'm working on so many projects that haven't even started yet. We're just like talking about it, but also on the other side. If you haven't seen my pictures, I really like working with like LEDs and like a lot of color photography. So I have a lighting class right now at Temple. We're learning about expressive lighting. So like my biggest influences are like Barry Jenkins, Ava DuVernay. So they have a lot of color in like really interesting ways. So I'm drawing attention from them and like creating my own style with it. So
Are you into like the documentary, filmmaking, storytelling? What's your main interests, you think?
I think narrative's definitely where I'm at, but also I'm so open to doing documentary. I feel like I want to tell the stories of like what I saw living in Philly from a young age, and some stories I want to tell of people who aren't here to tell their own story anymore. So I would love to tell their story, and you can't do that in documentary almost perfectly. Like I want to show like what type of person they were, and you can get people's testimonials, but I want you to feel like real time what that person was like. So yeah.
So you would get like an actor or an actress to portray that person?
Yeah.
Put them in like period clothes?
I mean, yeah. Because so it's different for like me being a videographer and then me being a film director. Because as a film director, I'm solely focused on like actor-director relationship and then communicating that on screen. Versus videography, I'm trying to get the entire vibe of like an event or something like that on screen. And so it's completely different how I approach the two. That's why I'm going to school for film directing, but also like I'm using the skills I learned to use in my videography. Cool. So yeah.
One of my like biggest passions right now is Star Wars, and like trying to navigate the awful like the new Star Wars image that people have of it's no longer the greatest movie series of all time. It's like people are very, very, very divided about it. So I got interested in George Lucas as a filmmaker, and I'm like watching every keynote he's ever made from like the early days, from the 70s and 80s and 90s. Right. And he was a documentary, like very edgy, experimental filmmaker in the 70s, early 70s. And then from then on, he went on to make Star Wars, which is the most like non-edgy, the most like rounded, if you will, the opposite of edgy movie ever made, with like princesses and like butler robots, and it's just an amazing thing that a single person can be both very, very sort of edgy and experimental, and also very family oriented at the same time.
For sure.
Do you think that people have to make a choice when they go into the creative space to be like an envelope pusher, as it were, or to be like a blockbuster, sort of like your like mainstream audience, a creator, or can you be both edgy and also mainstream?
I think it's so interesting because if you said back in the day, I think that you definitely had to pick one and just run with it. But nowadays it's so free form. I think definitely with the rise of like Netflix, YouTube, even Vine, like stuff like that, people are allowed to express themselves in different units and they're not controlled to one space. I met a director, she did A Tale, I think it was called, an incredible movie about herself in her childhood, but she's also known for directing documentaries. And so I think that nowadays you can do whatever you want specifically. I think now, like, if you asked a director, even like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they probably couldn't just be like, okay, I want to do documentary now. Like they had to pick one and run. And now I think like you can just, whatever stories you want to tell, if you really like are passionate about that story in particular, then you just have to run with it and you have to convince people to be on your side about it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of a crazy thing when we think about like Hollywood movies or like stuff like that, because it's not really anymore like, I know like a bunch of filmmakers who are like, I just want to make movies. I don't care if they're like with Paramount or anything, because they're just like, I want to tell this story. And so I really like that, because you can also meet a lot of filmmakers who are like, I just want to be in the industry and I just want to see how that feels. And like both are really cool, but I love that it's not about the popularity of the industry anymore.
Do you think there is an industry as such? Like could there be a movie made in Philadelphia today, like a big movie?
Yeah, there have been. There's one with Kevin Hart that just came out recently. I think it's interesting because nowadays, like even if you're in the industry, you'll have like sets like in the actual place that they film them, but also a lot of people just do live sets where they just like go to a neighborhood and they're just like, this looks like it is, and then fix it up a little bit and that's their new set. Like it's so fluctuating, like people use locations all over the world now. So
and like Atlanta is becoming a movie like hub, right? So like LA now, Atlanta, what else?
New Orleans.
New Orleans, oh my God.
Gonna come up soon because they have Queen Sugar shooting there. Also, I think Philly's gonna. A lot of people want Philly to become like a bigger one, but I don't, just because I see like the gentrification already happening, and I don't want that to happen because it's just like gonna be even worse. But at the same time, like I do want more accessibility and resources for Philly filmmakers, because I feel like now it's just like crumbs of like what can be done. Right. So it's like I'm struggling with like grasping which one I want either. Yeah. So it's just like,
like you want it to stay homey, but you want it to also be like with resources. And
there's a reason why New York is like right next door and
Right.
Philly's right here,
Right.
because New York, you can actually, I mean, it costs like $10 on the Bolt bus or whatever to just go to New York and then be a part of those opportunities. Yeah, you might not have the same availability just because it's in New York and you're all the way in Philly, but I mean, if you're passionate enough, you can find a way to get it done. If you watched On My Block, one of the actors is actually from Philly, and he would be at the bus station in New York at 4 a.m. waiting at the McDonald's to go to Philly.
Oh, wow.
Just to get that audition to be On My Block.
Oh, wow.
So like there's dedication and there's passion. So I mean, if you really want it, you're gonna go for it and
Awesome.
take it. Yeah. So for me, just from the release of the portrait mode on the last iPhone, like I saw this like coming, and honestly, I love it as a resource for new people who are like, I don't have the money for a camera. Maybe you have the money for an iPhone. Even I have the iPhone 6, and you can still make great. There's like Tangerine and another film that were made on an iPhone. So it's a great resource for people to be using, you know, smartphones to be making films. As far as like replacing cameras, I don't think that's going to be done. Just because like, as much as smartphones are expanding on their abilities with cameras, so are professionally graded like cameras. Like, you can definitely find, smartphones are probably going to come out with 4K video capabilities soon, but honestly, it's not going to replace, like you can't have, if there are cameras so expensive, like Red cameras that do so much, you can't replace it with a small little phone. There's going to be some delay, there's going to be some problem in there. They can't just figure it out so easily, you know what I'm saying? So honestly, I don't think it's ever going to take over, but I think they're going to develop them as much as professional cameras are going to develop too. So yeah.
So my 2 cents are, I see things a little differently. I actually think we've crossed the line of like when a phone becomes a camera like a while ago. Even, I mean, iPhone 6 is a little, I think like 7, 8, then like you're done basically, as far as like, it doesn't need to get much better for you to have basically a film quality experience. For like a newbie, you know, eye, obviously like an expert's eye is going to see some issues with it, but most of us that just consume video don't have that eye, and I think our eye is going to be satisfied with iPhone 8, an iPhone 8 Marvel movie. I think, and so for me, where we are now is a tremendously exciting moment of independence, and it takes away the excuse for people to not do things, to not become filmmakers, because now you can be in junior high and be an aspiring filmmaker because you've got your phone in your pocket. You can be, you know, you can have a show on YouTube. You could have 1,000 things going on in your life, because a lot of things that you needed to have millions of dollars of investment are now just in your pocket for free. Right. And so now when people say I can't, or I don't know how to, or I'm not able to, then a lot of times it's on them. And if they see that opportunity, if they realize how much opportunity they have, that is a very liberating experience. So you could be literally an award-winning film movie maker. You can make, you know, Star Wars possibly, which is what I'm like a lot into right now, on an iPhone. You don't have to spend $30,000-$40,000. And I see videographers with expensive cameras, and it's a lot of times, I think, from an outside perspective, it's a status symbol. Like it's like you're flexing. Like I've got a bit longer camera than you do, but like, you know, we have, of the 3 cameras, one of them is a phone, and I don't know that we could tell that that's worse than these 2. So if people aren't worried about flexing and like trying to one up the other, you know, their friends or whatever, I think we're already there, and it's just a matter of exploiting the opportunity we have now, rather than like, you know, going $5,000 more into debt for no good reason just to get one more, I don't know, megapixel in your, you know, like obviously you're an expert, you'll see things a little differently. Like things that I do for a living, I'm a lot more picky about, so that's true. But from an outside person looking in, we've reached that boundary from my perspective that you now can be an amazing all-star movie maker, film producer, blog, vlog, podcast, YouTube channel, Vine, video maker, and spend like no money and be a millionaire, as people have done already in the last 10 years, right? They would just have a phone in their pocket and they would, be a Logan Paul and be a millionaire, $10 million a year or something like that. So that's the world we live in. I think it's incredible.
Honestly, Disney Plus is probably going to buy out a lot of stuff just because it's Disney. But it's also going to be like the production companies, like in the industry, Paramount, and I mean, I'm mostly on Paramount, but all the other ones, they each have their own type of content that they're producing, they're different from each. So I think the more platforms that are coming out, I think originally Netflix is like, I don't think it originally comes from Netflix. I would say it's YouTube, because YouTube, people were putting movies on there from a while ago. And Netflix actually came out with the DVDs first, and you were doing that instead of online, but then they put them all online, so it was easier and less cost for them. So, I mean, it's all about what companies are able to do with what they have and what they think about and their creativity approaching it, because it's not really about, oh, I have the more content. Yeah, you could have the more content. Like Hulu could have more content that I really like, but if I'm never on Wi-Fi and I don't want to use my data, then I might just go on Netflix to watch my movies because I can download them. And so it's like that type of thing. It's like what is going to be unique about your streaming platform, And for me, I like them and I don't like them because, I mean, I love going to the theater. I went to the theater for Beale Street Can Talk, and you just get a completely different movie than you do if you watch it on your phone. And I think that streaming services are going to, keep building and keep building. So it's definitely just up to like the little details of like what they're doing to make it all possible for them to become bigger and bigger.
I don't know. I think Netflix is toast. I do because Netflix is just a platform. This is what Reed Hastings, I think, is the CEO's name. He realized the problem that he was looking at 7 years ago, which was that he was leasing, The Office and Friends and Seinfeld from content creators that have created all this content, and he was just like, let me have it for a small amount of money, and I'm going to show it to my audience, and you'll get a cut of what I'm getting. And they were happy with it, and he was happy. So he built an empire on that leasing model from them. He was sending out DVDs 10 years ago, but those weren't his DVDs. Those were Paramount and Warner Brothers. So when he moved that to the online streaming world, he didn't change anything. He just made it all online, but he was still renting other people's content. The problem with that was, and he saw this, and I gave him a lot of props for that. He saw that he was sitting on a house of sinking sand. Because if the content providers decided to take that content away, nobody would watch Netflix. So what he did was probably the only thing he could have done, which is try to create his own content, which is why in the last 5 to 6 years, starting with the House of Cards, which was a huge success, and he was like, all right, now I see how this can be feasible. He was like, well, I can't let these companies control the future of my company. And if they pull their content away, then I'm toast. I have to make my own office and my own, Prison Break. That was my favorite show back in the day.
I like that show.
Right? I have to make my own Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, right? And then no one can take that away from me. People will watch and subscribe to Netflix just for my stuff. Which could be as good as the greatest that other people have made. And that's what explains like Netflix is having $20-30 billion of debt every year and trying to pump out as much content as they could. But it didn't work. It's not working because they didn't capture enough momentum. They didn't make enough great content. What he saw was it's very difficult to make great content. anyone can make a movie, but to make a famous, like, incredible movie is a 1 in 100. And he tried to make every movie he made a great one, and like they almost all flopped. And so he never actually made any Netflix content that was amazing. And the content that he was leasing, for example, I'm on a huge binge watch of Daredevil right now. Like, someone recommended to me, I was like, I'm gonna watch it, it's amazing. The problem with that is it was made in conjunction with Disney. Disney's starting their own platform, and they're pulling Daredevil out. And so then the question is, who will take place of Netflix? And I think it's going to be Disney, because if the question is not platform, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's a great point that platforms can have like advantages that are so valuable that will be enough of a value add just by itself. But if the platform just doesn't have what you want to watch, even if it has a way to save things offline, you're still forced to go to the platform that does have what you want to watch. It's kind of like you have no choice. And if Disney is going to have all the greatest movies and all the greatest cartoons, you know, Star Wars and The Little Mermaid and everything in between, The Lion King, then what are you going to watch on Netflix? That's kind of, you know, like that's going to be the reality. And so I think Netflix is finished, especially if they're $30-40 billion in debt every year. That's like $100 billion at this point. They're losing subscribers already. So I think Apple TV Plus, which is the Apple version, it's a question mark. Just because it's Apple and I love Apple doesn't mean they're going to win, because they need to have content, and you can't just create content that's like incredible on demand. You just can't do that. You have to make 100 movies to get the one that's amazing. You can't have every movie be amazing just because you want it to be so. So Apple's gonna have to create a lot of content like Netflix, and most of it is gonna suck like Netflix. And I think they're too late in the game. I think Disney's already like there. They've got 100 years of content. They know what works. They know what's the favorite. People have a built-in audience for 100 years. You know, mothers and daughters and mothers and daughters watching for hundreds of years. I think ABC. NBC is coming out with their own. That's going to be a big success because of the same reason. They've got a built-in base of content. So I think if you watch this video in 2024, there will not be a Netflix, according to my prediction.
I think it's so interesting because we can also look at like music platforms and say like, why do people have Tidal versus Spotify versus Pandora versus all of these? And it comes down to, one, who's endorsing it, two, what's the platform like? Like, I use Spotify, but I don't use Spotify Premium. I don't want to pay for it. People use Apple Music. And, you know, people are online arguing all the time. Oh, do you use Spotify or Apple Music? Right. And, like, it's always, like, a question. Same with Netflix and Hulu now. I see your point that, like, it's all about the content. And, yeah, I think Disney is definitely going to make a lot of money just because they've done all the films. But also, we're in an age right now where all our films are nostalgia-based. There haven't been any, like raw, new films. And so I think that's going to be dry real quick. And so, yes, Disney is going to make a good amount of money with their platform. But also, I mean, Netflix has had great films. They aren't, like, amazing. But they're great films. Like, they have On My Block. A lot of people love that. They had, what was that show? They had one season of a show that cost a lot of money, but it was really good. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
What was it about? Was it?
It was in, damn, I don't remember the show at all.
Stranger Things. Yeah,
that's okay. I mean, I don't really like Stranger Things. It was,
But we know the like.
Yeah, so there's good films in Netflix, but also like Netflix isn't producing all the films. They're not like hiring producers and directors and all that and then making sets, and they're actually a lot of the times just buying films that independent filmmakers are making. So in theory, it's like Apple can do the same thing. Netflix can still ride on that. Because Netflix still has a lot of people, and it's about the branding too. it's not about, okay, Sony has a bunch of these movies. It's about the branding. Because if you look at Apple, they're high class almost. They have like the phones that are so, you know, and so expensive. So like, how are they going to put that branding into filmmaking? Are they going to have like, you can't really have the most prestigious films because all films are kind of seen the same in that sense. So how is Apple going to use their branding to make their platform even better?
So you can't be a premier TV platform like Apple tried to be with computers, because with movies there's no premiere.
Different.
Yeah.
You have Apple Music and it's great, but
it's not premiere. Like,
and it's not seen as like a high contender for the music platform. It's seen there, but it's not like beating anybody else. It's going to be the same with films. And I think Netflix can still ride because they've made adjustments to their business. The good thing about businesses is that they're always trying to find new solutions. Netflix had one solution where they had DVDs that you can just like rent for a day. Then they expanded to streaming services. They're gonna have another flip where they change something about it, and then everybody's gonna follow. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they're gonna flop. They're probably taking a bunch of money right now to figure out what's the next problem they can solve. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you on most aspects. Like, we don't know who's gonna die and stuff like that, and it's all.
Do you think it's possible as a movie maker, as a creative yourself, to create a piece of content, a video or a film that like is a blockbuster on demand, or do you think it's like a serendipity of like a lot of things being just right almost by accident, and you can't just like wish for a hit to happen through your own, like just pay enough money and you're guaranteed to make a hit?
That never works.
That never works, right? So Netflix can't guarantee themselves a library of amazing movies.
I think it's not even about the movies. It's about what problem are they going to solve next. Because that's what they were doing before. That was the problem with Blockbuster, but Blockbuster didn't adjust.
Right.
Yahoo didn't adjust to what Gmail was doing, so that they're losing money too. So it's just about that. It's about what problem are they solving to ensure that they can stay in business. It's all about the branding of it. You know, one question you do when you brand a company or a business is, what's the longevity of it? What problem are you solving? How long is that going to last for before something else arises? So once they solve the problem of like, okay, we have a lot of competition, they can take our content away and we're not really doing, what is the next thing? And that's how they're going to keep going, keep being in the.
So you think they're going to just adjust and change their model and do something else maybe? Like,
yeah, they've done it before. So.
Yeah, smart.
I mean, honestly, I was never really big on Halloween. I had a teacher in like middle school who was just like the best. She was always like, I'm gonna wear this crazy costume. Even my film teacher, Douglas Herman, he would dress in the wackiest outfits and just make me crack up. But I was more about the candy. And in my childhood, I couldn't really watch like Halloween movies because I come from a different culture where we watch like different stuff on TV. But I think Halloween Town, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's really good. That's Eli. I'm trying to think. I don't really, I'll bounce off you.
No, I'm going to say Star Wars Halloween special or something. The thing is this, I don't like Halloween. I never liked it, and I hate horror movies of any kind. I just, as a thing, like I'm very like, movies affect me a lot.
Same. I can't watch like horror films. I just love Exorcist films, which is weird,
that's cool.
Right?
That's cool. I get that. But I can love something but not watch it. You know what I mean? Movies really affect me, and I think most people also are really affected by it, which is why they're so powerful. And I just try not to watch movies that affect me into a state of paralysis. Like not just like for that 1.5 hours, but like for the next month.
It extends out of that.
Yeah, like if it's gonna make you feel like, oh, this guy with the clawed fingers is gonna come get you in your dreams and like suck you into a pool of blood, like, okay, you know, then let's not go to sleep at all ever.
I think it's so funny because like I hate when that happens, so I have to watch like horror movies like in the morning, like 9 a.m. and then be surrounded with like people I love like all day for me to watch a film. But on the other side of it, I really love that idea that you can like, because I want to do that, like I want to create films that after you watch it, you're going to be thinking about it for so long. Like Us, if you guys watch Us, I was thinking about that for like a month after it came out.
I respect why you want to like, because it's your craft. You want to like understand like what makes these movies tick. For me as a consumer, I stay away from anything that is like super negative. It's easier to live life when you don't have like entertainment making you feel depressed. Like life is hard enough for most people, not for the creators.
That's so interesting because I'm like the opposite. I think it's a form of therapy for people.
Really?
Because if you watch This Is Us, which is such a really good show, you know, like it's a form of therapy because when they're arguing, they're saying the things you wish they said to you when you went through that thing. And that's what I love, because it's not about how depressing or sad it is, it's how it makes you feel, because there's like a Maya Angelou quote where she says it's not about what you say to a person or what you did with them, it's about how they made you feel. And that's what movie making is all about. It's not about what it's about how it makes you feel at the end of the day. And so yeah, I love when it makes me sad. Like This Is Us makes me cry every episode, because they're just good at invoking that emotion from me. Oh. So like I can see your side of it where it's just like, no, the world is depressing enough. I need something happy or comedy, stuff like that.
No, it's not only comedy, but like, you know, history, you know, Star Wars. But it doesn't have to be like
You're going to be mad. I never watched Star Wars.
Oh my God. You got to watch it.
I can't watch it. I watched like half an hour of it and I was like, this is...
But it's
the sound editing is great and I know that's what it's known for, but other than that, I can't really catch into it because it's not personal.
I got it. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
But I respect your...
Well, we'll have you back here in 10 years and we'll see if you watched it in 10 years. 2029. That's
filmmakers will make me watch it.
On the calendar, October 21st, 2029. Be here. So that's us for this episode number 14. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like us, share. Let us know what you think. I really want to know about your favorite movies. Peace. Thanks.